Hello, welcome to Dundrell's podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today, we're reviewing the X-Men animated cartoon, Volume One, Night of the Sentinels. Which this DVD came out in 2009, and it features the first 16 episodes of the X-Men animated series from 1992, which the show ran for 1992 to 97, which I looked up why the show got canceled, because it ran for like five seasons, right? Apparently it got canceled because Fox was tired of Marvel telling them what to do. Telling them how to handle the characters, man. It's like, oh my god. What a stupid reason. So yeah, this show was done by the same studio that did the Skeleton Warriors cartoon, which both shows have a very comic book look to them, very shadowed, shaded like characters, which looks great. It very much gave the show a comic book look, which this show, the X-Men animated series, though they based the characters' designs on the current on what the current team looked like, right? Which was the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee run of the comic books. A lot of the stories that they use in this series is based off Chris Claremont's and John Byrne's run from the I think it was like from the 70s, and it went on for like into the 90s. But obviously John Byrne didn't do uh, like didn't work till the 90s, right? He went on to other stuff. So yeah, I was a huge fan of this show back when I was a kid. I would rewatch the show for years later. I think the last time I watched this show was like a couple years back, but never found all the volumes. Right? I only have the. I mean, I couldn't find it online. Man, it used to be like when YouTube first came out, you could find all the old 90s Marvel cartoons on YouTube you could watch for free. Now it's on streaming streaming sites, and you actually you have to look very hard to find this stuff. I think the only the only Marvel cartoon from the 90s I could find in print was the X-Men and the Iron Man cartoon, which I hated the Iron Man cartoon back when I was a kid. I watch a couple episodes nowadays and it's all right, but I hated the Iron Man cartoon as a kid. The only good Marvel cartoons, though I heard the Fantastic Four was good. I didn't like it as a kid, but the best in my opinion was X-Men, Spider-Man, the Silver Surfer, which only had one season, but that was a really good cartoon, and the first season of the Incredible Hulk. That was great. The second season sucked because they brought in She-Hulk, and every episode was about the show turned into a sitcom, and they changed the style of they changed the aesthetic, and the show just became Hulk and I almost said He-Hulk, Hulk and She-Hulk just hanging out in sitcom situations, and it was very weird because it's a cartoon, but everybody would fawn over how sexy She-Hulk was. It was super weird, but that was the 90s, man, and this cartoon got a lot of praise back in the day for being very adult, right? Which obviously now the show is known for its progressive ideals, but as as a conservative, and I didn't get this from I didn't come up with this for myself, but someone said it best, where it's best to view the X-Men as an allegory for any any oppressed group that you want. It could just be a blank slate for anything, right? So if you're gay, you can use it for gay people. If you're a minority, you can use it for minority people. Like so on, so on. If you're a Russian in the West, you can use it as as an allegory for that. Because boy, did I hear like not just in England, but in Canada and the U.S. they're talking about taking the taking assets from Russian citizens, not just oligarchs, but like normal Russian citizens, man. So if people think, hey, there's not oppression going on today, yeah, there's unfortunately there is. So yeah, the cartoon itself is about a group of superheroes called the X-Men, led by Professor X, who is a wheelchair-bound individual with psychic powers, right? Who founded the School of Gifted Children, which is supposed to be a safe haven for mutants, people who obtained superpowers, for them to learn how to use it. And the X-Men are like these superheroes that go around protecting humanity from threats, mutant or non-mutant, and also showing people, hey, like mutants can use their powers for good, and you know they're not out to take over the world. Which unfortunately, I heard in the comics, the mutants, including the X-Men, are now like fighting are now fighting humanity, right? It's completely going against what mutants always strived for, like in the comics, which was equality, right? Which is wow, man. Identity politics ruins everything, right? So like yeah, so like this a lot of the stories in this show deal with our characters fighting, you know, evil mutants, humans who want to oppress mutants, and also like demigods or alien like entities like Apocalypse. Like literally, Apocalypse like shows up in like the second half of the first season, man. He shows up in like he shows up in episode 9, which like the first 2 episodes, you got a two-parter episode where they introduce Jubilee, right? Who was like, I think, a character created by Jim Lee, I could be wrong, who is this Chinese American girl who's an orphan, whose foster parents find out she has mutant powers and reported her to the Mutant Registration Association, right? Who tells the public, hey, they just want to help mutants, but really they want to kidnap and study mutants, right? So that's the first 2 episodes. They introduced the MRA, sorry, not MRA, the Mutant Registration Institute, which is, sorry, MRE, but they get like, it's a thing in the comics where they have the Mutant Registration Act, right? Yeah, so like that's where they introduce the Sentinels, which are giant robots that are sent to capture mutants, and our main characters have to fight the mutants and save Jubilee, but they end up losing one of their own members, Morph, who is believed to be dead, only to come back later, who is turned evil by a villain called Mr. Sinister, who's kind of like Magneto, where he wants mutants to be the dominant species on Earth, but unlike Magneto, he doesn't. He just wants to be on top and is willing to like kidnap mutants and genetically modify them. So yeah, other villains that they introduce is obviously Magneto, who is like the mutant like supremacist character, right? Who has like, you know, background of being like unlike with the movies where he was in the Holocaust, right? Here he was just here, and in the comics he was just like a refugee from like Eastern European country that was torn apart by war. So obviously that experience drives his mutant fervor, I guess, is what you would call it. Yeah, other villains that they introduce obviously is Apocalypse. You have Senator Kelly, who becomes president on the platform that he was going to put mutants in concentration camps, which is like, oh my god. Which has happened in the past and will probably happen in the future, right? Yeah. So like, yeah. You also have they do the Days of Future Past arc where like the X-Men of the future sends Bishop back to the past to stop the assassination of Senator Kelly, which will cause this apocalypse, right? Which is like, if you ever read Chris Claremont comics, you know sometimes he'll rip off popular movies. So obviously Days of Future Past is a rip off of Terminator, right? But he did it in the way where it's not too obvious that it's a Terminator rip off, but you can tell that you can tell that it is, especially since like there's a Christmas comic where he ripped off Alien, right? Where it's like Kitty Pryde's alone at the X Mansion by herself, and then like this demon monster shows up, and she gets chased around the mansion by this demon that looks a lot like the Xenomorph from Alien, right? Which I reviewed that comic in some of my comic reviews, because like they put that comic as like a bonus for a lot of X-Men comics, right? And it was also in the Christmas special, 2004 Christmas special, which I reviewed on this channel. Yeah. I forgot to mention the team, by the way. So the team is Wolverine, who has, razor claws and like healing factor, though they nerfed his healing factor in the cartoon, where it takes him like a day or two for him to heal from like energy blasts and stuff. Which they have this cool like arc where he fights like Sabretooth in Antarctica, which was pretty cool. You have Gambit, who's the Cajun, right? Who's voiced by Canadian actor Chris Potter from like Heartland and Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, who does this amazing like Cajun accent. Whose powers are he can charge objects and throw it at people, and then they explode, right? So usually his weapon of choice is playing cards. You have Jean Grey, who's the psychic, who's the girlfriend of Cyclops. Cyclops shoots optic blasts from his eyes, which are solar powered. You have Rogue, who steals people's powers and is super strong and can fly because she stole Miss Marvel's powers, which I think they introduced Miss Marvel later on in the comic book. You have Beast, who's very athletic, who looks like a blue furred monster, who spends most of season 1 in jail. I think it's like he spends like in like end of episode 1 or 2, he ends up in jail, and he doesn't get out of jail till like episode 13, which is like the final episode. I think it's like the final episode of like season 1. So you also have Storm, who controls the weather, and you have like Jubilee, who shoots like sparks from her hands and can like ruin electronics, but that only happens like in the first 2 episodes. Yeah, so I like the show. There's a lot of cool action, a lot of adult themes. You have like Wolverine having this crush on Jean Grey, and there's like a love triangle between him and Jean Grey and Cyclops. Though in the comics they gave, in the Jonathan Hickman run, they have this bisexual like fucking like threesome relationship. Was like, what the fuck? Literally, there's like a wedding, and like after season one, Cyclops marries Jean Grey, and Wolverine is so pissed off that he doesn't even go to the wedding. He spends in his tuxedo. He spends the entire length of the wedding at the Danger Room fighting like different versions of Cyclops because he's so pissed off. Yeah, so I should mention there's a lot of cool cameos from different X-Men related characters from the comics. Like you have people from mutants from Alpha Flight, mutants from X-Force. Cable is in a couple different episodes, right? You also have Angel, right, who's in a lot of the Apocalypse episodes, right? A lot of cool cameos, right? And though some problems I have with the show, even though I like the show, you have great action, great aesthetic, right? The music by Shuki Levy, who is the guy who did the soundtrack for like the theme song for Power Rangers. Apparently, Saban Entertainment owns his alias, and that he doesn't actually own the rights to the songs that he makes. So like he's done all these different theme songs, and it's owned by the Saban guy, man. Like fuck, man, that guy, such like, you know, such bullshit, especially like how awesome the theme song is, right? Problems with the show. There's a lot of continuity issues where characters like Morph will one scene have like a brown leather jacket on, and then next it'll disappear. You'll have like, you know, eyes will look weird, right? Faces will look weird between frames. Characters, like something that happens a lot is Wolverine's upper arms, which are supposed to be bare, will sometimes be colored yellow in different frames, man. So yeah, you have that happen a lot. But yeah, like lots of different continuity issues, right? And this DVD I'm reviewing, it ends on a cliffhanger, which is kind of bull. I almost would have preferred if they didn't include, if this was just season 1 and then they include like the first 3 episodes of like season 2, because then like the DVD ends on a cliffhanger, which sucks, man. So I have to go check volume 2, which I think there's only 5 volumes, right? I don't know if they're still in print, but I see them in like used DVD stores a lot. Right, so I'm gonna make sure to pick it up. I should also mention they do some stuff here where they hint at certain characters being gay, right? Like in like the Slave Island episode, there's a character called the Leader who's like in charge of the dictatorship, right? When like on Slave Island, where they're capturing mutants, and sorry, I gotta pause. Yeah, sorry about that. I got a phone call, and I'm expecting like a phone back from like a job interview. Which, you know, if I was gonna get the job, they probably would have called me back by now. But you always hope, right? You always hope. Yeah. So yeah, there's a character called the Leader who's in charge of the Slave Island, right? Well, he's not technically in charge, but he owns the island, right? It's technically the Mutant Registration like Institute that's running this, right? Where they're using the mutants to build a dam to fuel their like Sentinel factory, right? And like eventually there's a revolt. The mutants take over with the help of Cable, Gambit, and the X-Men, right? And when things start to go south, the leader goes to his male secretary, which I forget the male secretary's name, but he tells him, Mr. Thompson, have you ever been to Switzerland before? He's like, no, leader, I've never been. And so it was obviously like it's hinting at, oh, these two men have some kind of relationship, and they're and like the one of the I think it's like there's like the 2 episode. Oh, sorry, in the last episode of this DVD, which is whatever it takes, some demon entity called the Shadow King takes over this mutant from Africa, who is like the son of a friend of like Storm, who Storm calls the boy her own son, because when the boy was born, he wasn't breathing, and Storm breathed life into him. She performed CPR, and it brought the kid back to life when he was a baby, and later he developed like mutant powers. So like, because like Storm helped save this woman's son, she's considered the boy's like second mother, right? And there's like no father. We don't know who this kid's like father is, right? So it's like, dude, like they're implying that, hey, this kid has 2 moms, right? And I know there's like a thing called like, obviously you have like godfathers, godmothers, but my godparents don't go around calling me son. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, man. Like, so yeah, that was a little weird. Like, there is progressive stuff in the in this cartoon. Sorry, but if there's enough good stuff here where you can look past it and still enjoy it. So, despite some of the problems the show has, it's aesthetically it's a cool ass show, cool characters. Though one thing I forgot to mention, you have great voice acting, and that's because like a lot of the voice actors from this cartoon are Canadian TV actors. So it's surprising to see like so many like Canadian TV actors are like awesome like voice actors. But yeah, they did a pretty good job, right? But the problem is you got like really good actors, voice actors, and then the dialogue here and there is a bit silly, a bit. Because it is written for a kid. It is a kid show, right? So some of the dialogue is fucking bad as hell. So yeah, that's even the good voice acting can't cover up how bad the dialogue is at sometimes. And some of the Beast like poetry quotes is very cringe, man. Oh my god. Which Beast is voiced by George Buza, who was in that 90s Adventures of Sinbad show, which was like my favorite live-action show to watch as a kid. So it's like to find out, hey, that Sinbad's like brother was voicing like Beast was a surprise. And he also played Santa Claus in that one Christmas horror movie everybody loves from 2015, right? That has like William Shatner in it. Yeah, so I like this show, and I'm giving it 7 out of 10. I mostly checked it out because they're Disney Plus announced that they're making a sequel to this series called X-Men 97. Even though the last season was X-Men was in 97, so wouldn't the show be 98 technically? But whatever. They're doing a sequel to this one, which is funny if that comes out before the HBO Batman show, because the HBO, I think like 2 years ago, was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a sequel to like the Batman and animated series. So it's gonna be funny like if Marvel put out their sequel first, which I would rather. Hey assholes, put all this shit on Blu-ray. And like, yeah, just put all this shit on Blu-ray so fans of the old X-Men not just X-Men, all the Marvel anime cartoons can watch them, right? Including the Avengers United They Stand. Like, people hate that show. I don't know, I just watched the first 2 episodes. Well, I watched episode 1 yesterday and episode 2 today. It's not that bad, right? So yeah, that's probably going to be the next cartoon I watch, because that show only has like 13 episodes. But yeah, I'll try to watch some like anime and review that. So if you guys have any suggestions for animes to watch, let me know. But try to pick some from like that's on tubi. So it's like, so it's easy for the find for me. All right, guys, peace.